Hey everybody, welcome to the show. And let's see, we got all the usual suspects. Looks like Craig, Don, Will, Terry, Dan, Steve, David, Scott, Larry, Rob, Svenborn, Sabina, Francois, Garneau, Kimberly, my favorite subscriber. She's not feeling too good, everybody. So she got some symptoms of maybe having the flu. Hopefully she feels better soon. And welcome to the show. I actually struggled a little bit coming up with a topic today, so not a lot was happening the last couple of weeks. I've been really struggling to try to find something to talk about. And I guess today we'll just hit a review of 2025 and how those themes and things may keep going or creep into 2026. So good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. 2025. What a year, right? I mean, I did pretty good on the 50K challenge. I got up to $52,000 by the final bell there for the year. I mean, that was pretty good. Of course, that's not 50,000 a month. That was 52 in 8.5 months or whatever. So let's look at how we can keep this party going into 2026 here. And according to the big brains at Goldman Sachs, it was a good year for stocks. Very good. Maybe a little too good. And that's like saying your uncle who won the lottery had a pretty fair week, you know? I mean, when the S&P 500 is delivering solid double-digit returns, very good feels kind of like an understatement of how things went. It's kind of like calling a supernova just a little bit of a flicker. But let's be real. It was a party. And pretty much everybody was invited if you were paying attention. The S&P was up 18%. So if you underperformed, well, you need to reevaluate what you're doing this year. The NASDAQ up a cool 21%. And even your grandparents' old boring Dow Jones type stuff I don't even look at, they were up 15%. That's the kind of year where you could throw a dart at the chart and probably hit a winner. I mean, 2/3 of the stocks in the S&P 500 actually closed the year up. We haven't really seen a winning streak like that since 2017. So good, a little bit understated for stocks. Of course, not everything was a winner. And, if you're sitting here trading and trying to make decisions day to day, it's tough. It's tough. But what about the favorite rock stars, the Magnificent Seven, right? Well, after a couple of years of absolute insane face-melting guitar solos, they were still on the stage, but maybe we were tired of that song and dance. They were only up 23% as a group, which is great, but that's not the 76% they pulled in 2023. It's kind of like they were at the after party for 3 days straight, and they were running out of steam. The law of big numbers, it's a harsh reality and harsh mistress. When you're the biggest of the big and there's not much room to keep, like, when you're a $3 or $4 trillion company, it's very difficult to double again. Even rock stars have to sleep eventually. But the crazy part of all this, it wasn't just the big names carrying the market. Even even some weird stuff, right? The unpopular kids in the corner of the stock market, we saw them get some love last year. We saw some crazy numbers coming out of places like Korea, with their market up a whopping 79% last year. That Korea 3X bull thing just kept showing back up week after week, day after day on the morning list. It was kind of a global party in 2025. And the options market, don't even get me started here, but it was like the entire market turned into a casino where people were making these insane one-day bets. Even I was starting to get into the party on that. It was a wild time. I do hope it continues because that thing, that 0-day trade, it's pretty nice. But what happens after a big party like that historically in the market? I mean, what happens if you go to a big party? You're drinking, you're partying. The next day, a hangover, right? And that, I think, is where we're going to be in 2026. We might have the mother of all hangovers after that rock and roll ride of 2025. That smooth ride on freshly paved highways of 2025, well, 2026 is shaping up to be more like a monster truck rally on a dirt track for 2026. So we're talking about some serious volatility potential. We've got a taste of it in 2025 we had the biggest single drop with Liberation Day. It was bigger than COVID's drop, but we recovered and came back to all-time highs. It's potentially just the appetizer for what might be coming down the pipe for 2026. And here's the thing that really gets me, my spidey senses kind of tingling a little bit. Everybody is bullish. Every single Wall Street analyst predicting we're going higher in 2026. When everybody agrees on the same thing, that's the time to get a little bit concerned. It's like when everybody on a horror movie agrees to split up, go our own ways. You know that they're all about to get got, right? I mean, you know something's about to happen. So what do we savvy traders and investors do? How do we prepare? Do we cash out everything and stuff it under the mattress, wait for the storm to pass? No, you got to pick up your monster, get smart about it. This is where real opportunities lie. This is when you separate the amateurs from the pros. And let's talk about gold. I mean, the ultimate, I don't trust any of you people at this party type of asset. When all this uncertainty is going on, gold has been looking pretty shiny. It had a really great year in 2025. Unlikely to have the same year in 2026. But with central banks buying it up and still accumulating, like it's going out of style or we're not making more of it or not finding more of it, could be some stability in the portfolio if you add some exposure and we get a swing down. It may not go down as big, but it is lofty right now and could experience some volatility too. Next, overseas, remember Korea up 79% last year? Yeah, that's, I wasn't misspeaking there. While everybody else is obsessed with the US market, there's some incredible opportunities in places like Korea and Japan. I mean, Warren Buffett just went and did the carry trade, basically. He went to cash on a lot of stuff, rolled it over to Japanese yen, borrowed it. He borrowed an insane amount of Japanese yen at 1.6%, and then rolled that back into some other opportunities. He rolled billions of dollars into Japanese yen. It's absolute crazy. But he built a cash machine, basically. Built a cash machine and then handed the keys over to the next guy as of yesterday. It's just going to be an interesting time. Yeah, basically, Warren Buffett set up like an $80 billion a year cash machine for the new heads of Berkshire Hathaway to take and deploy into whatever opportunity they find. It's kind of interesting when you look at it that way. Berkshire Hathaway owns 5%. With the cash pile that they took and pumped into U.S. treasuries, they own 5% of all the treasury notes outstanding in that one company. That's going to be a huge pile of cash from taxpayers right there as those treasury notes get paid off. Then circling back to Japan and Korea, I mean, they're at the forefront of the AI kind of stuff, the advanced manufacturing stuff. They're strategically aligned with the West. I mean, we're making more and more of our cars in Korea and shipping them over here. It's kind of like finding a secret members-only club that's throwing an even better party. And what about our beloved tech stocks? I'm not saying that you should be dumping Magnificent Seven stuff, but maybe it's time to be a little more selective instead of just buying the whole group. And for those that don't know about the Mag 7, I mean, we're talking Amazon, Apple, Google, Alphabet, Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, and Nvidia. And what about those? Well, maybe they're not, maybe they don't have the room to go. The law of big numbers is in play. So there's ones that are actually making money from AI in that group, and there's ones that are just kind of talking about it and maybe not actually making money off AI. Maybe you should start looking at some other players in the tech space, ones that aren't making the headlines every single day, but still doing meaningful stuff. And finally, don't forget about the boring, the beautiful sectors like defense and industrials. You know, with all the geopolitical craziness that's ramping up in the world, these sectors are quietly making a killing. It's not as, brag-worthy as AI, but it's solid, it's steady, and in a volatile world of megalomaniacs, could be a solid play. So look at 2026. Looking ahead, it's probably going to be a wild ride. It's not going to be easy money like 2025. But that's what makes it exciting, I feel like. Maybe the opportunity, I find lots more opportunities when things are a little more volatile. And as the legendary investor George Soros once said, the secret is preservation of capital, plus hitting a few home runs. And that may be the theme as we look into 2026. Kind of preserve your capital, but go for a few home runs out there. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be smart. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell with the notifications and, put a reminder in to come check in with me at least once a week, maybe. I'm going to stay on top of all this stuff and be here all year long, trying to find where the opportunities are. So stay tuned out there, everybody. We'll be back every day, hunting for the opportunities. Let's look at some charts, try to see where we might make some money today. The list got a lot bigger today. It's been pretty boring for a few days. But before we get into all that, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, well, it's not necessarily indicative of future results. I make predictions. I've got a bag of unicorn dust here, but I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know for sure what's happening next. This presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. Be careful out there. The things that were the hottest of 2025, unlikely to continue to be the hottest of 2026. We see that all the time. We get sector rotation. Nvidia had a great year for several years, and then 2025 was not the most bangingest year for Nvidia. Not really. Despite all the hype on AI, when you really look at Nvidia's performance. So be careful out there, all right? I'm not recommending you buy stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. If you want somebody to tell you what to do, how to trade, there's people for that. It's not me. Let's check it out, though. If we look at Nvidia right here, we jump up to Nvidia. Get on the 12-month chart. And last year's candle was kind of small. Wasn't the big banger candle that we had the last 2 years before that. Back in 23, back in 24. Nice big fat up candles. 2025, it was up, but not like it had been. It's only 35%, only, but certainly wasn't like the years before. So be careful. We don't have to see giant upside. Law of big numbers, right? We hit the top, and it's hard to keep going once you're at the top. ES coming into the open today, getting a little bounce action. I like it. There was the reopen for 2026. Nice rally right back up where we were chopping around early on Wednesday. So this will be the high that we need to break through to go higher. Right up there, right around 69.50. If we can backtest and hold this roadmap line right here on the 15-minute, that can propel us higher. If we start not respecting the 15-minute, that may mean that we bounce down off of the 30-minute and we come all the way back down. Now, the 618 will be the one in play right here. If we get very far away from the 15-minute roadmap line, that 618 is where we need to watch. And you're like having a hard time seeing where it would be. It's right there. 69.08. So if we continue down from here, watch that level. We below that, more downside. If we bounce there, we'll be looking for breaking up through. Then we'll watch that level right there around 69.50 for more upside. All right. Now, I'll give you my actual bias for the day at the end of the show. So stick around if you want to know that. Terry, thanks for being a channel supporter. Appreciate all of it. Can't do it without everybody supporting the channel. So in NASDAQ here. This is the NASDAQ futures. I look at the futures because they don't leave gaps. They trade 23 hours a day, 6 days a week, except for holidays and stuff. But that was the level. We came right down in the level where I expected to see us find some support if we were going to go higher. Right down in there. We talked about it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How we may visit that QQQ level, 615. Crazy enough, look where we bottomed out on Wednesday. Look at this. Right there, 615. Right there she was. We poked just a little lower, but that was it. I thought we might visit that. Now we're getting a little bounce. It's the craziest freaking stuff, man. Coming into the day, checking out the GEX levels here. Refresh it, make sure we got the hottest, newest stuff. Reloading. Apparently that's going to take a minute. Here we go. Loading up. So we're still sitting here. We've got a fat level. This is expiration day, January 2nd, first Friday of the year. Got a level at 620. About $700 million. We got a level down here still at 615, $900 million. So I kind of expect us to play in here. If we see some weakness as we come back down, poke through that 618 level, probably go visit that 615 level again. That could all happen today. Now, looking forward to next week, the 9th. Nobody's really positioned out here for next week. So we're going to see this fill out in the next couple of days. And it may not really fill out until next Monday when most traders come back from the holiday. So today may be kind of benign, seeing a little bounce, seeing some money jockeying around, but that's not a whole lot to read into the tea leaves of the GEX map here. This is just where option players are positioned. I look at right here. There's a giant level at 684. And then the biggest level right now at 687. That's ramped up since Wednesday. I guess it was ramping up into the close. So we're probably going to play in between, on SPY, play in between 684 and 687. And when you come look at the S&P 500, that would be 6840, where we were kind of bottoming out right there on Wednesday, and 687, which is right where we're sitting at the open here this morning. So we may play in between here today. Just one little fat gap up, slamming our head on that 15-minute roadmap line. So we're about to watch what happens. Watch what happens. Russell on the daily chart, still looking like we need to push a little lower. So first move down, the retrace. Next move down would put us right down in here. We almost got there on Wednesday, but I'm still expecting a little more drift lower. And if we don't hold that zone, we could come on down here. That's what Russell's telling me. And that's the small caps. Oil, still respecting the downtrend of highs. And still set with the date for the low 50s sometime. I expect it to occur sometime the first quarter here. Could last past that, maybe in April or May. This is not a very, look at the decline speed here. Kind of keep on that. It could even push out till May or June. If we just kind of stay in this downward chop here. So we'll see what happens. Gold is back testing that breakout. We broke out above, ran out of steam, and in one day we came back down to back test it. So right now we're kind of stuck in this zone right here. We're testing that breakout. If it proves that we can't go higher from here and we push back below these kind of lows in here, that opens the door for a bigger pullback, shake out some weak hands in gold. Probably needs to happen. Stop some leverage out. So be careful. If you're really, really long gold, watch out for this uptrend right here. Uptrend of lows. We break below that. It can be a swift trip down. It's my job to warn you about the upside, not hype about what the potential upside might be. That's what I look at my job as. Now, do I believe we could hit 5,000 this year? Absolutely. But we may take a trip back down below 4 before we go up and visit 5. Just be careful. Volatility. Remember, that's the name of the game for 2026. Probably going to have increased volatility, especially since we ended up, take a little diversion here before we go back to Bitcoin. We ended up at the lowest levels in VIX that we've had in over a year, right at the end of the year here. That's crazy. So only have higher to go on VIX, really. We don't typically hang out much lower. And we may see a period of lower volatility, but then that opens the door for these inevitable spikes that occur after we hang out down low for a little while. Always something coming down the pipe. Always something that's going to change everybody's view of everything. So Bitcoin still consolidating in here. This is kind of a coin flip zone. This price action off this low back here at Thanksgiving, US Thanksgiving, was not bullish. All right, that's kind of bearish, nasty price action. This correction right here, that's potentially an A wave down, a B wave, kind of triangle thing. Could see a C wave flash down here and then resume some nasty price action. And this whole thing could be an A, B, C. So unclear on what's happening next on Bitcoin for a little bit. We could see a flash down if we break down below these kind of lows right here from early December and Thanksgiving. That could take us a flash down to like 75K. Nothing's changed here. Nothing's different. Maybe we've sufficiently bummed everybody out and we can actually rip, but we'll see. Now, an interesting thing to note is that 4 years ago, we saw gold go on a big, massive rip. Everybody's kind of glossed over this fact is we saw gold go on a big 50-60% higher rip 4 years ago. And then once that rip got done and it kind of started fading, that's when Bitcoin actually took off and made its all-time highs in 2021. This is actually 4 or 5 years, I guess, looking back, going to be 6 years ago now. So that was on the prior 4-year cycle. Now, Bitcoin was actually negative for the year in 2025. So it kind of sucked it up. It was one of the worst performing assets, despite making an all-time high up here at 126,000. Ended up below where we opened the year. So on the yearly view, it kind of sucked it up. Gold was a big performer. Now, if gold goes back into dormancy and Bitcoin gets hyped up, we could see Bitcoin ripping, making higher highs. So, not counting it out yet. Ethereum, if we can break back up through the roadmap line, this thing could go on to make all-time highs. We haven't really made, we did spike an all-time high, but we didn't get any kind of daily close or spend any duration at an all-time high. This thing could go on and set some new record highs in 2026. But we've got to get out of this same consolidation funk. Breaking above, good times. Breaking below, the lows back at Thanksgiving. Crypto winter type stuff. So, I'm not convinced which way we're going. We're kind of in a coin flip zone for all of crypto. Be careful out there. That's the name of the game. We're seeing our global liquidity indicator start off the year with a nice strong green candle. If we can actually break higher than that prior high back there earlier in December, we could take this on higher. At this point though, the kind of price action is set up is notorious for getting another spike down. So be careful. That'd be volatility, right? Big spike down, global liquidity, suck down the US markets, and volatility. Dollar still set to make that lower low sometime this year, and this one's not exactly the fastest mover, so this could be a theme that carries on well into the first half of the year before we make that lower low back here than we made in September. So you'll probably just chop along and drift lower. Now, stay abreast, if things change, I'll let you know. Apple is below this uptrend of lows, and if we don't just get back above here, could take a nice swift trip down here. Amazon, we've got the resistance coming up right up here, 240 area. If we get through it, 265, 270. Google, looking good for the bounce here. We did break back above that 316 area today, setting us up for that visit of 337. What happens when we get up there? It's probably going to meet some resistance. Came up shy of it back here in November, and we're working our way back up there now. Meta, come on, make a swift little correction here. Looking for that to dip right in there. I'll probably add some exposure because we have if we bounce and hold that level right there, 1,300, and that may take a couple years to get there, but that looking good for Meta to run on up to like 1,300. Have a nice bounce, move up. This will be another nice bounce, nested bounce, and that would set us up for a potential 1,300 up here. Now that may take all of this year and into next year to get there. And it could buck whatever kind of volatility we get. Of course, it won't be without swings higher and lower. Microsoft's still respecting that roadmap line. If we break down below these lows, we're probably taking a bigger trip down here, somewhere in the low 400s. So that zone, if we get below it, I've had this on the chart since back in September. If we get below that zone, down here in the low 400s. NVIDIA coming up to test the 195 area. If we can get above it, going up to that 220 area. Possibly 230. If we reject off of it, though, probably going to come back and back test this breakout from 2024 highs back here. Tesla, still working on this correction. This thing could continue into the end of the month. I know there's a lot of players playing this January 16th OPEX, looking for those big breakout numbers, but this could churn a lot of that money off. And we come on down here. Their production numbers were due out this morning. I didn't see those, so didn't happen across that yet today. Netflix still grinding this support. Kind of expect it to hold here, but if we start on down, we can visit these lower levels down around 85 and then hunt support. And that's where we consolidated back here coming into 2025. We're doing this consolidation, kind of volatile, and then we went on a big rip, topped out there in June, and we've been working on this correction ever since June. So looking for this correction to finish up in here. Could possibly take a dip back down into those lows, but I'm looking for it to hold right here and get a bounce. So I go pull gainers. Things moving $2 or more up in the pre-market. There's Korea's 3x bull. This was hot in 2020. I mean, this thing, look at that rip. We went from the April low back there. This is 3x leverage, though, on Korea. Went from that low right there all the way up here, and now we're back retesting that high as we come into 2026. This was hot, right? Giant move. I mean, we went from 30 all the way up here to like 200. 30 to 200. I mean, that was a big performer. Do I expect that to continue this year? Maybe. Probably not. We're probably not making the same kind of move, though. Probably not going from 30 to 200 again, especially since we're starting at 200. That would be like going from, 20 to, gosh, up here in the thousands. It's possible, but now the stuff they're leveraging, EWY, that's basically what they got, EWY, and then leverage on that. So they're putting 3x leverage on that. EWY, excuse me. You see, that was a big performer. Went from the low there at 49, wrapped up there to 100. This is getting near the targets. I wouldn't expect much more, but it's possible to get continuation on up to like 150 up here. Circling back up. ASML. That's about to tag the 1200 target. That was a nice move. I didn't play this move, but I played one earlier back here. Very clearly, I thought we would bounce right there, and we did. The price of this just too big for me to play in any kind of size, so it's just too rich for my accounts right now. AFJK, Health Technology, looks like a SPACquisition company. AGQ, 2x leverage on silver. Be careful here. If silver takes a little step back or rest, we can see this pull back pretty violently. This is 2x leverage. Leverage cuts both ways. Be careful on leverage. The GEX site is bullflow.io. It's not my product. It does cost money to look at it. Baidu, they don't have any kind of free trial or anything like that. So. Baidu coming up into this resistance. If we can get through, can open the door to a bigger upside, 400, 500. And this may be, China may be one of the biggest performers here in 2026. I was expecting it to get going. It really just got off the floor in 2025. So we could really see this get going in 2026. Some ways you could play, like KWeb has the internet kind of ETF. You have the yen with a 3x leverage. China bulls. You see this outperform. And this could be the one that goes, since Korea was the one that went from 30 to like 100, 200, this one could be one that goes from 40 to like 200 or even higher this year. So those are ones to keep an eye on. It may be worth picking up a few shares now and coming back and checking on it a year from now. App loving. May see it return to the roadmap line here. Was on the gainers list. Now it's kind of giving that back here. Light. This had a really good year in 2025. I'm not sure we can keep that train going. So watch out for a pullback. I mean, there's nothing else on this chart that looks anything like that, what it just did. So be careful. That's probably going to need a pullback. GE Veranova did the roadmap bounce, hit the target, and then has a high likelihood to come back and visit the roadmap line again. Roadmap line, if you want that, click the link for the channel homepage. Go watch the video pinned to the channel. I give you the code in that video. If you're just like, code, I'm not a coder, I don't want to mess with code, that's cool too. You can, on over, you can look at the description for this video. I have a link in there. $5 gets you easy button to click and add it to your chart. When you click that easy button, it'll add it to your indicators list. And then you have to go up to the indicators and add it to your chart. Down here, the market roadmap, click it, add it to the chart. Easy peasy like that. It's not on this chart, but it is on this chart right here. That's the roadmap. I have different versions of it for my own personal use. I actually included in my Echo Trade indicator here. JNUG was a big performer in 2025. Be careful. This can come back to the roadmap line, just like the rest of the shiny metal stuff. AMAT pushing on out. Probably going to hit that 285 area. Restoration Hardware. Looking for this to be able to break through this downtrend. Found resistance here. Now we're back to test it. If we can get through, this has a large upside recovery potential. If we turn down here, break through the 618, probably going to make a lower low in 2026. It's kind of the long and the short of it on that one. NetEase potentially bouncing if we get the close above here today. That sets up the 163 target. SMH. Probably going to find some resistance at 387. TSM. Hey, broke higher. Nice. I expected a roadmap line visit, but smaller time frame bounce. So what, 4 hour? Yeah, 4 hour bounce. We're at the targets already. 318, 323. Could go up to 340 before we get the next pullback. CLS. That looks like we're hunting the retrace to the roadmap line. MU. Next fib line up, 415. We're going to keep that party going. That's a crazy move. Caught a nice big fat move from down here in the 100 area up to 200 in 2025. Just be careful. Not sure we're going to see that. And we could definitely see a big pullback here. That's really kind of going exponential. Stock's not exactly known for going straight up exponential. VRT is a little bit like hype. VRT did the bounce. If we can get up through the 180 area, 212, 220 on the upside, CIEN. Watch for that to come back to the roadmap line, 150. S&PS. This is struggling here at that resistance. As long as we're below that downtrend, with this giant gap we're going to have to fill, could even come up here and still turn down. Be careful on that one. It's not a, doesn't look like prime opportunity for me right now. SanDisk, look for this to come back down to the roadmap line. PPLT. After we're done with whatever correction we're doing on platinum, I see upside potential here. Platinum and palladium may be the sleeper. Palladium hasn't really broken out to new highs yet, so this one may be a sleeper. If we continue this premium metals theme into 2026, this could be the one that outperforms right there. So it's an interesting potential. Let's see. CRWD. We're back to the roadmap line. If this can find support here, and it may be from a little bit lower, because this move, first move down, retrace, second move down would put us down here around 445. We come back up through the 618, and then we could get the upside targets over here at like 645. STX feeling a little lofty. WDC also been pretty lofty. May have a little bit higher to go. 225 area. Probably going to be resistance on WDC. STX. Yeah, probably could rally on up to maybe 370, possibly even 470 up there. AVGO. This one looks like it's gunning for, came up just shy of that roadmap line. So it looks like we're gunning for that roadmap line touch right there. I wait for my patterns. Like, that's where I make my money. I don't try to front run the patterns. Baba touched right there on the last day of last year, pushing back up through the 618. This one sets up for a run. So AliExpress, Alibaba, set for a run. We're messing around right here at this big 618 from this giant pullback that's lasted a few years. Like I said, China could be the big story here, could be the China recovery. If you wanted broad exposure to China, like FXI, it's a way to play the large caps. Like I said, the yen could be a low-cost way to get your foot in the door, be able to take advantage of big upside. So we'll see how that all plays out in 2026. GLD, we already kind of covered gold futures. Still has that big pullback potential. LRCX, this was a big performer off the Liberation Day low. I would expect this one to chill out just a little bit, but could go on up to 267 here. MULL, just don't have enough to really predict where that's going with the 2x leverage on MU. SMX continues to be a garbage, probably going back down to lows. Dumpster fire, baby. That's what that is. Dumpster fire price action. These reverse splits push this roadmap line way up here. So this thing's a giant dumpster fire. Don't touch it. Danger, danger abound. Coinbase still hunting the bottom here. We are at a lower low. And that's low right back here in November. A little bit lower to go for that big 618, 220. We may need to tag that. If we do, we could set up a bigger bounce. So this, this could support that bigger narrative going higher in crypto. So crypto could be a big performer in 2026. I'm not going to say it is going to be. We just have the kind of chart setup potential cooking here. TER, 218, further upside there. ALAB, get above that 200 area. 287 is the setup there. FUTU, if we can get above the 183, the 210 is the setup. AVAV, still hunting a bottom here. Glanced off the roadmap line. This can go on lower. Be careful. There's no bottom confirmed here. Not touching it. LEU, If we get it back above the 346, 350 area, looking for 500. Whew. It's, that one's running rich. COHR, if we're pushing higher, 218, but be careful. Downside potential to come back and back test the breakout at 120. Pretty elevated right now. This is 2x leverage on VRT, 3x leverage on technology. Already talked about WDC, Bloom Energy. Probably gunning for a little bit further down. It's possible that this was it. Possible. If we do get back above that high right there, around 116, you're looking for 163, 178 on the upside for Bloom Energy. That would be the upside potential right there. CRDO. Still hunting the roadmap line. There's Yin. Like I said, this may be a big performer. AMD. Still looking for this to come down and do the roadmap bounce. Just still looking for that touch. Don't think that this was done. It's possible, but I just don't think it was done. One more little flash down. That would make that one look good. There's your South Korea ETF. Those upside targets still 106, 117. MSTR keeps kind of sucking it up here. Pretty much everybody that jumped on this candle back here just got stopped out. And this could be the bottom here. We're in the target. That could be the bottom. And if crypto decides to turn and burn here, this could be an opportunity to get a piece. Now, if that doesn't hold, probably coming on down here to 120. Here's the next level right down here. So that keeps sucking it up into this year. 120 is probably where we're heading. I have some exposure to MSTX, which is 2x leverage on MSTR, and it is getting just punched in the face right now. So CEG didn't hit the roadmap line on the daily charts. If we get a confirmation back above 380, looking for 422, 435. PLTR, still looking for this. So we kicked off the 218 upside potential, but the way this dropped, I'm kind of looking for that for me. Right there. That's the move I expect. And then if we can hold support in here, gives opportunity and potential to go higher again. And that would put bigger targets than these targets right here. NBIS. Look for that to get back above the 112 area for 156 upside. SPXL, 2x leverage on S&P. Potential topping out. And let's see, RSP. Yeah, we tagged this, so be careful here. That was kind of what I've been I looked for tagging that 194 area for most of the year. We tagged it right there in December. This could be marking a top in S&P, and we may retrace the breakout before we can go on up to like 198, 200 area. That's just the equal weighted S&P 500. Polaris. First move down, retrace. Looking for that next move down. Could put us back down at 56, 57. Google, we already talked about. ARM. Could be played out, but all the way back down to this low would be more of what I expect. Now, if that was head and shoulders and we play out the head and shoulders, there's the head, there's the neck. Give us the potential to come on down to like that 80, 80, 87, 80, 80, 90 area down there to play out in full. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Oracle. If we can break through the roadmap line, this can go on up back to 380 to 400 area. Wayfair, probably going to retrace a little more. Of course, we have this Bigger 618 here, up here at 123. If we can get above that, kick off this much bigger time frame chart to head on up, cruise on up to like 576. Reddit struggling here at this 618, but about to kick off the potential to rally on up to 300 there. ASPC, SPACquisition, PDD. It's just been an underperformer. This thing set up a bounce all the way back here in 2024 and confirmed it again there in 2025. This thing just not performing giant. This is Temu. This company runs Temu. And just, I guess, all the tariff rhetoric, maybe. I don't know. Just hasn't been able to get some upside momentum going here. So like I said, China could be the big recovery play in 2026. This one could take off and go. Shopify. Looking for that to make another return to the roadmap line, probably. But 190, 197 upside. ANET. Bounce potential. High. Here's the low. Get back above the 143 area. 173 would be the target. C-Web. This is China 2x leverage. Just not looking like it's bouncing yet, but this could be another way to play. If we can get the momentum going, 40 could turn into up here, 110, 200. SIVR, physical silver. Watch out for the, I mean, that's exponential. I warn over and over and over and over. Doesn't matter the asset. Be careful. When things go exponential, they do this pattern over and over and over. Just go back and look at the history of silver. Silver does these big moves and then it pulls back. It'll do it again. Just a matter of when the hype runs out. ASMG could come back to 20. TCOM, Trip.com. This is in a consolidation. Like we spiked up here in September. Been in a consolidation. Just not looking very positive on the price action. Not getting through that 618. Probably has a date due with making a lower low down here around 68. AEM probably has a date due with same kind of chart there. Looking for 149 SLV. Like I said, this probably has a, this was the big opportunity I pointed out in 2025. I don't think that's going to be the biggest performer here in 2026, but we do have upside potential up to 115 and possibly even 300, which would be pretty big. So be careful. Could still be a performer, but if we do that, it'll probably get a big knee-jerk reaction back down. So QCOM still stuck. We've been stuck in this consolidation for freaking years now. All of 2025, stuck in this consolidation. Hadn't been able to break out, hadn't been able to break down. Disappointment. I guess that's all on the back of Apple deciding that they're going to make their own chip and quit buying Qualcomm chips, but I don't know. That chart looks like we could flush down again, so be careful. C Limited down here at the lows. Snow. Potential for this to bounce, but it's starting to look a little weak here. Grinding the roadmap line, we could get another little flash down. Oklo. And no bottom confirmed yet. They don't make any money, so be careful. It's all hype right now on Oklo. I don't care what government contracts they potentially have. It's all hype until they start booking stuff. HUT, if we can break higher, be up there. This possibly could go on and make new all-time highs. They're converting a lot of their capacity over to AI data center stuff instead of crypto mining. So 130 could be the upside here. AIA. Yeah, there you go, Asia. Just rocking and rolling. I could break out to new highs here. Asia 50. Let's see what they got on it. They got in this fund. Taiwan Semi, Tencent, Samsung, SK Hynix. There you go. You can get exposure to stuff that. This one could be a one if you want to play the Asia. Right there, AIA could be a way to get a piece of Asia experience. Asia exposure. Say the right word. Silver miners still has potential to pull back. Be careful. PANW. I haven't had a big list in, gosh, 2 weeks. So I'm kind of looking around, seeing what's showing up here. PANW. Not looking too hot. We're gonna have to get a bounce, but we're hunting another lower low. Looks like this could come on back down to like 160 area. SLVR. There's the Sprott miners. It's not pushing higher, so watch out for a little pullback. HSBC. Resistance up here at 90. Robin Hood, 2x leverage. Let's check out Hood. That has downside potential here. If we break through the roadmap line, probably going to take a trip down here to 85. Jeffries Financial. That's just watermelon seed squeeze right there. Be careful. There's no clear-cut direction here. This may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 may bounce down here again and then take off, but it also could break down and just probably going to take a move that's the size of this consolidation. It's like, does it go higher or does it go lower? Unclear. That's why I call it a watermelon seed squeeze. It's like squeezing a watermelon seed. You don't know exactly where it's going to pop. You know, it's going to pop with usually pop with some violence. But does it pop this way or pop this way or just go straight out? CQQQ, China Technology. Another one that could be a big upside. ASTS. It has the pattern for going on up to 114, but struggling here. We may revisit the roadmap line one more time. 2x leverage on that. Right there. There's Hood, we already mentioned. Circle. Still trying to confirm that this was the bottom. We may need to take one more trip down. So be careful. This could dip one more time. Make a lower low. Before we get the all clear to go higher. That's the IPO correction right there. Like, started out hot off the IPO. Coming back. Probably going to make a lower low. Because 95% of stuff that does IPOs will go on to make a lower low than the IPO in a corrective fashion. So decliners, there weren't very many. This was down. It still is down a little bit, I guess. Reverse splits makes this a dumpster fire. Can easily come back to zero. Oz, more garbage. Connie, 2x short Coinbase. Be careful. Gosh, leverage short Coinbase. Be careful on that one. Good grief. ETHD, 2x leverage short on Ethereum. 3x bear on China. That's probably going in the garbage if China rips. Short Bitcoin. This did set up a bounce potential, but coming back down, we pushed back below the low. This is probably going down, and Bitcoin's probably going higher. And then short QQQs. Did a split, but doesn't really matter for ETFs. This is tends to be a declining asset as QQQ marches higher. Be careful there. And then the one setup for today with my signature bounce pattern. Not keen on this, but here was the high. Here was the low. That was the entry. $10 on the upside. Low price stuff. Be careful. Not sure I would chase that one. For the 100 of you or so that are left, my bias for the day. Let's jump in here and take a look. Yeah, so we're doing this 618 retrace that I mentioned at the head there. If we can hold on to it, higher. If we don't, probably come back down to that 6840 area to churn off those options. And we're back down to that 684 on SPY. That's kind of where I thought we would. Kind of where I thought we would go. We may hang out here the rest of the day and just turn off this level. Don't really have anything else out here, of any kind of size. So have to watch as option players play their options into 2026, where this sets up the roadmap to go. So after this expiration today, this kind of leaves the playing field wide open a little bit. No real giant levels looking out there. I guess the biggest one, the 9th, was 693. Be right up there. So we could go on higher after we finish whatever kind of chop we're in here. There's another big level building down here. So if this lets go, we could dip on down to 678 on SPY. Like I talk about, we could go visit the daily roadmap line. It's a long way down there, but we probably find supports at the 4-hour first. So if this pushes on down, we'll probably see 678. Got that low, got that high, and that kind of corresponds with the 618 retrace. There. Could see this push on down like that today. NASDAQ, same kind of thing. Could see this push on down. So that is holding up really well right there. But if we get downside going, watch out. Yeah, QQQ is pulling it down pretty hard. Coming back to that. $6.15 GEX level. Big gamma level down there at 6.15. I don't really expect us to go much higher than 6.20 or much lower than 6.15. And there's not much else out here on QQQ. So it's just bullflow.io right there. Like I said, it does cost money, and I don't know how much it tells you. So there you go. Bias for the day is just kind of hanging in here, I guess you might say. I've already kind of visited the top. So pin in this area is what I expect. If we get below it, we could come on down here like 605. So the GEX holds as long as the GEX holds. If it doesn't, GEX is gamma exposure. If it lets go, well, we could see some crazy moves. So VIX is really low. That provides the opportunity to get some spikes going. Be careful out there. I'll be back at 11:30 with Jack on Market Masters. Links in the description. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:15. Same bat channel, same bat time, same bat channel. Do it all over again. Have a great day. On Morning Monsters. We'll see you.